Well, what's up, everybody? This is George CLC Samuels, and you are tuning in to another session of Building Meta Communities. And today I have a very special guest, Jason Lee. Jason, are you there?
I'm here. What's up, man?
Oh, a lot of things, and it seems like a lot of things are happening for you too.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy this past couple of weeks for sure.
All right, so to get us started, could you please just give a little introduction for our viewers or listeners?
Sure. So I'm Jason. I basically, I'm the co-founder of a company called Yomi Games, and our first kind of gaming NFT future play-to-earn gaming project is called OniSquad. It's also kind of like an NFT collection that's on OpenSea right now. So definitely check it out. So prior to I guess co-founding this with my co-founder Faiā about maybe 3 or 4 months ago is I used to, I've been in gaming for a long time, spent over a decade in gaming in various roles. I started out my career in investment banking, but working a lot very closely with gaming companies at that time. So, 10, 15 years ago, that was more like the mobile gaming companies, right, of that era. And free to play was this new like business model that people were very skeptical, right? So play to earn is also kind of like 15 years later is now this kind of the new skeptical business model that everyone's like not sure if it's going to work or not. But so I find it's interesting, right? Like kind of going back to the beginning of my career, kind of having that comparison.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I did that for about a few years. Then I went from there to work at Warner Brothers in corporate development and strategy. WB is a big film studio, as you can imagine, but they also have a huge gaming arm. So I did a lot of stuff with the gaming team, but also, looked at a lot at like, entertainment, IP holders. Warner's is known for, having Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, DC Comics as part of their portfolio. So it was a really interesting, I think, experience to kind of see at the very high level, right? The landscape of entertainment, not just across gaming, interactive entertainment, but across film and TV. And while I was there, looked at a lot of really interesting companies and opportunities. I was part of the deal team that looked at potentially buying Twitch for Warner Brothers. We, of course, didn't do that, and Amazon did that instead. But we actually, the studio actually made bids for like Riot Games, developer of League of Legends, and also Epic Games, right? Which at the time they didn't have Fortnite yet, but would eventually, build Fortnite. So definitely been doing a lot of stuff in gaming. Was doing gaming stuff there too. And then I was there also for 3 years or so. Then I left to go kind of work on my own startup. Didn't really go anywhere, but made money, was cash flow positive. It was kind of like a BuzzFeed sort of concept, like viral content sort of startup. Went through like the Berkeley Accelerator, Skylabs Accelerator, and then we went from there to I did that for a couple more years or so. Learned a lot about growth and how to I guess build traffic essentially to different media properties. And then because of that, I got actually a friend who was working at this company called Umlet Arcade. They had just raised some VC backing. They were doing basically this mobile game live streaming platform. And then I joined them and was there for about, basically about over 4 years or so, from launch to where it is now, like 10 million users a month, monthly active users, over 1.5 million streamers, like content creators a month. It was really there from the very beginning to its hyper growth period. Company really grew really quickly, and it was really exciting. And then more recently, I was actually advising for Polygon Studios, the blockchain, the layer 2 blockchain. And I was doing that for about 4 months, but then, just didn't have enough time to do that, and then focus on OniSquad, right? So that's kind of where I am now.
Nice. And sort of what inspired you to start OniSquad? And then maybe for those who aren't familiar with the Onis, do you want to, maybe give us a little bit of details as to how you came up with the brand name, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So Faiā has a background, his background, by the way, is technical. He was at Consensus before. Basically, we already had this kind of engineering team built out. We were just really interested in kind of exploring what we could do in the crypto and NFT space. We just saw, just like you and probably your listeners, just how quickly it was booming, and just really thought it was a really interesting time to get in. So around August, September, I was kind of talking to Faiā. I was like, hey, I think there's something really interesting here. It's still so early. And I like, again, like kind of what what I was alluding to earlier just now, is that I just felt like it was so early. I just felt like this is kind of like the mobile gaming era of 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. And yeah, I think this is a really interesting time to kind of be in this space. If we're going to be in this space and there's a lot of opportunity here, we should do it sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
So we just kind of, kind of brainstorm. We were always intending to build more of a game, but we thought NFT collection or drop would allow us to move more quickly, and kind of learn a lot, by doing that, because it's easier to just drop a NFT digital collectible collection versus like building out a full-fledged game, right? So we did that very quickly. OniSquad is called the collection, is the collection name. Oni stands for demon or ghost in Japanese. The whole team, loves anime, very inspired by Japanese culture.
Yep.
Yeah,
Same.
and it's also and also it's also we also thought it was interesting too, because crypto and NFT Twitter, a lot of that those people really are inspired by anime and really like that culture too. I mean, there's a lot of anime inspired projects out there. So we thought it was a kind of a good fit for crypto too. And of course, we personally just loved it as well. So we did something, anime inspired, or not anime, but Japanese theme inspired. The art itself is more like a retro vintage, classic sort of look. So it's actually not anime in the art style, but it is, featuring ghosts and a lot of the. And for our game that's about to be live in a couple days, it has a lot of Japanese themes too.
Yeah. Nice. And with the NFTs themselves, are there any things like what special privileges, if any, do NFT holders get that are connected to the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NFTs allow you basically to play the game without an NFT or a partner. Supported partner NFT, then you can't access the game. So it's kind of like a ticket into the game. Yep. The goal of the game is to, which is actually pretty unique. I don't think I've seen any other company really go down this route. Is basically you do these kind of daily missions and quests. They're social in nature. It's casual. It's not like a very hardcore game. It's only about 3 to 4 minutes of gameplay per day. Nice. But the idea is that you kind of go around, you visit other people's houses or mansions. The game is called Oni Mansion. Yep. And you leave messages. And then as you collect these missions, you earn reward tokens. It's not a play to earn game. So it's not like these tokens are intended to have monetary value, but they are, tokens on the blockchain that you can then spend to upgrade your mansion. And at the end of the game, it's a limited time event. It's like a 28-day event. Then you can mint the mansion, and we're actually planning to have that mint on Ethereum, so it's more of a collectible.
Interesting.
So it's actually played on a different network, but then minted on Ethereum because, as some of your listeners may know, Ethereum gas fees are just too high, so you can't actually play. You can't really do a lot of transactions on Ethereum without incurring a huge cost.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, right? And what have been some of the challenges of using, things like Ethereum? What have been outside of the gas fees, which we know are quite high? I guess maybe what are some of the things that if you take away, the hype and all the buzzwords and whatnot, what is actually happening under the hood, and what actually can you leverage or use for, practical things from maybe a utility perspective?
Yeah, so I guess since you're kind of referring to Ethereum, I think Ethereum, it's interesting because every crypto entrepreneur has to think about this, and there's definitely pros and cons. We decided to have the collection. So the game is played on Polygon, but it's interesting. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But the NFT collection is on Ethereum, and the reason why it's on Ethereum is because that's just where all the collectible activity is.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Ethereum is considered kind of the gold standard for collectibles. People are willing to pay the gas fee. Yeah. But in some ways, it actually makes things more valuable because it's just kind of that whole ecosystem NFT ecosystem has really, revolved around Ethereum mostly. Like all the premier projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, right, etc. Like those are the ones they're all on Ethereum. Of course, other new layer ones like Solana, I think notably Solana, right, have started to rise up and kind of compete for mind share and attention in the NFT world. But at the end of the day, Ethereum is the main one. And Polygon, I think, is definitely a growing ecosystem. But I think it's still quite early. And at the end of the day, the liquidity and the amount of money they're willing to spend, that all exists on Ethereum, right? So it's almost like a self-perpetuating loop, right? So we decided we wanted to make sure that our collection had the best chance for attention and growth, and that's why we thought Ethereum was the best for the collection. But for the game itself, right? It was untenable. There's no way any game can actually really feasibly exist on Ethereum. Yeah,
it's ironic though, right? Like the promises of the technology versus the reality, and yet people are still just spending like mad amounts of money in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and what's interesting, and I think this is kind of an interesting segue here, is that we Polygon is a well-known layer 2. A lot of companies are starting to move on to Polygon, but and even us, right? We were very thought it was really interesting, and it's a great technology for sure, really great, fast, and pretty sturdy blockchain. And obviously I advise there, know the team really well, and I think it's all great people that work there. But in the past month, it's actually been plagued by, I think, increased activity, because I think as more people start to move on, it inherently also has its own scaling issues too, right? Every blockchain has limitations.
Blockchain almost. Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's actually funny that we talk about this now, because actually, so I mentioned our game. Our official launch date was actually just this past Monday, but and it was fine for a few hours. People were able to play, and it was really cheap. What we actually did too is we planned to. We only got to do about half of it, but we actually airdropped Matic, so to people that had Onis or partner collectibles, so they could play for free. And we had calculated that based off of the average gas fee over the past couple of weeks. But of course, when we launched it, gas fees just really started to spike for whatever reason. I think Polygon had an upgrade that was happening. Other projects were starting to launch around that same time too, for whatever reason. We didn't know about that ahead of time. And then gas fees just really started to spike. We're talking like 60x of what we had calculated to be the average. And even now it's like still like 10x, even like currently. That was like a few days ago, but even now it's still like much high. It's still really high. So again, the gas fees on Polygon much cheaper than Ethereum relatively. But if the goal is to have it be a free to play experience, especially for people who are not whales, right? We're not catering only to whales. We want to have everyone be able to play and enjoy our game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, $4 to $5 on Matic is a lot of money to give out to thousands and thousands of players. And for a company, and also for a player, it's not that easy to get that Matic. And, it sucks to like we wanted it to be a free to play experience. And now it's starting to feel like, oh, I have to pay some real money to actually play this. And so that feels bad, right? So that's why we actually had to pause it, because of the gas fees that spiked. And we have a solution that we think could be interesting, but we're literally in the middle of architecting that and revising that now.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. We'll probably I'll come back to sort of asking questions about the community itself. But like in terms of the attempts for a lot of gaming companies, right, to leverage the blockchain side, and then coming up against these scaling issues, are there times where you kind of go, it'd be just much easier to use like non-blockchain already existing solutions for some of these basic things?
You're absolutely right. It's so funny that you bring that up, because and this is like, this is a fun behind the scenes here, is that it was an internal debate even in our team, was to figure out how much of it should be Web 2, like just normal, and then how much of it should be Web 3. And I'll take ownership of this. Pavan and I, my co-founder and I, wanted to because we viewed our game that's I guess going to be live very soon, to be a learning experience for our team, right? Like we were very strategic and purposeful that, look, we know play to earn is a lot, and we didn't want to go into a game, have a poor design, and then realize that, oh, we have to support this for a while because there's an economy here, there's people playing, but wish we could have changed something. So that's why we decided to do a limited time gaming event, so we could learn quickly and then have it be done, and then okay, what did we learn, and let's apply that to the next game. That's smart. That's smart. Yeah, so we just wanted to be very purposeful about that. But I just think it's interesting because we did debate that, and now that at the time when we were designing the game and building the game out, Polygon was really fast. It was really, really good experience. But again, it's also because not as many people are using it. But now people are starting to shift to Polygon, and it's already starting to reach scaling issues. and that's good for them. I'm happy for them because that means people are using it. But at the same time, it's also like not good as a developer if you want to really provide an incredible experience for your user experience. So I think, to be honest with you, I think for our next play to earn game, and this is why we did it because we're learning a lot, is we're just really going to try and minimize the on-chain transactions as much as possible. Yeah.
Oh, I feel you on this, you know, and I think that's, I guess, for some of us, you know, who've been in the space for a while, you know, I think we now start to see the reality, right? Like of what is sort of everybody hears about, you know, in terms of the buzz, and then the realities for those who are trying to build, that some of these fundamental, I guess they're like infrastructure things, right? If you're looking at blockchain, how they can get in the way of everything else that you build on top of. But you know, it is still early days in many respects. And so I guess we just gotta, you know, for all of us, it's just a learning experience. Yeah. So the question I was gonna ask about is just the community itself, right? How would you describe the community that's being formed around the OniSquad brand? And what have been some like fascinating stories you've heard come out of the community already?
So number one, I love our community. It's been incredible. I actually feel very blessed. We have a very, very, very wholesome community. And I think it's interesting to kind of trace why that is. So I'll give just a quick background of like of how our community formed. So when we first we actually did our first drop, like we actually dropped our NFT collection, the OniSquad collection, around Halloween. It was kind of inspired because it was Halloween. We thought it was cool, but people may not remember this, maybe they do, but that's actually when gas reached a high on Ethereum. We also didn't do that much marketing, to be honest. We thought we were maybe a little naive, to be honest, but we thought, oh, maybe we didn't want to use too many influencers. We just thought it's like, you know, we don't want to be too shilly with our, you know, we're like, oh yeah, you know, we have a good team, a good project. People will find it organically. Of course, you know, that was a little naive, I think. And then, so we didn't have like too many mints, to be totally honest with you. But we did have some, and some people who just found it randomly, just loved the art. So we did have like a small little community, but very small community in our Discord to start. And then, you know, and then we were thinking, we were talking to some of our advisors who were kind of noticing that, hey, you know, like, you know, there's so this is like around like January or so, right? Hey, you know, there's a lot of maybe have you considered doing a free mint, right? Like so our mint costed about 0.0666 ETH. That was the initial price we set it at. But then so that's expensive, right? With gas that can be $500 to $600 for one. So that's actually pretty expensive, right? And but so so a couple of people were telling us, hey, you know, like a lot of these free mints are doing really well. It could be a really good marketing play just to mint out. And for us, you know, hold
up. Before we continue, for those who aren't familiar with this minting process and free mints, can you please explain to them what that is?
Yeah, a free mint basically is, so usually NFT collections, they will set a price for a mint. So you have to pay basically some amount of Ethereum to basically buy the digital collectible. And a lot of companies or projects will do this as a way to raise money. It's almost like the new Kickstarter. It's like, hey, we have some art. It's really cool. It's unique. We can raise some money with that. I think typically a project that successfully mints out will raise anywhere between 1 to 3 million, right? US dollars. For us, we actually had raised venture capital. So we actually didn't need to, we weren't looking to make money. We didn't need to make money from the mint. Of course, we were thinking that, hey, maybe we could, you know, increase our balance sheet a little bit, right? By doing this mint. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like a big deal. Our main goal was really just to increase the amount of players in the game and just get people enjoying our products and getting data on that activity, right? So that's why we were able to have the luxury of doing a free mint. And what was really interesting and what really opened my eyes is that we did the free mint for free, so people could basically mint for free for on our collectible. And then they only had to pay gas fees, right? So that's what a free mint is. And so we moved to the free mint about a week ago, or a little bit over a week and a half ago, and it just, you know, it was totally organic. We didn't even tweet about it. We just said it in our Discord, but we already had a small group of loyal fans in our Discord, and we actually designed it so that we would announce our Discord, let people in our Discord and our early supporters kind of mint for free, and then go wide and let the public know. And then we were internally expecting that we would probably there would be like all 6,000 or 6,700 or so of our collection would mint out in a few days, but it actually went crazy viral, and then
Yeah.
and then basically people minted it in 2 hours as it works. And
Hi.
when word spread,
Nice.
it went really fast.
Yeah.
Literally, so the first hour it was kind of slow and people, but you could see the momentum building. And then
Yeah.
in the last like 20-30 minutes, it just went insane. It minted so quickly. It crashed our site. Like halfway
What?
through the mint, it crashed our site. We had 2,000
Yeah.
people going to our site per second, and it crashed our site.
That's
So people started
insane.
minting directly from the contracts.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, and then we actually still minted out despite our website not having a user interface to actually mint. And it was, and what was crazy is that that first day, I mean, we did not expect this at all. We were
Yeah.
so, I mean, that was actually really exciting and really fun to see.
Mm.
And our whole team was just like, oh my god, this is incredible. And we actually hit over 300 Ethereum traded in like the first day.
What? That is
And
insane.
we actually trended number one on OpenSea on an hourly basis for like a couple hours.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was insane. It was just absolutely insane. Of course, like people were coming to our Discord. They were like,
Yeah.
what is this? This is crazy."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, the price went up a lot too. There was a huge amount of FOMO for people who weren't able to mint. The free
Ah,
minters were, of course, were flipping it quickly, which kind
yeah.
of sucked. Right? I didn't really like seeing that. You know, I mean, it kind of
Mm,
made me a little nervous because it was going way too fast up. And of course, whenever things go up really fast, it always inevitably comes back down, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so then it
Exactly.
came back down, and then we have some people in our Discord who bought at highs, and it's kind of like
Oh.
settled into like a bit of a much lower than the peak it was.
Mm,
But we're happy with the community that we have now that are excited about the long term vision of the project, and
yeah.
just love them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a great point to make. And so when you guys did the free mint, did you say that this was a week ago, or was this like a couple months back when you started the whole thing?
Oh no, this was actually just a week and a half ago or
Oh,
so.
that's
Yeah,
insane. That's insane.
yeah, this is very recent, very recent. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, no, that's an interesting point as well, like on the community side, right? Like in this ecosystem that like when people talk about community, there are some that are motivated by these like transactional relationships or just, for the ability to just buy low, sell high, right? And those type of communities can be very, what's the word? Shallow.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, for your community, what do you think it is that is sort of bringing that sense of community beyond just the ability to, buy low and sell high?
Yeah, and to be totally honest with you,
Mm.
we did have some of those folks, especially in those early days, and
Yeah,
literally like in crypto, it's measured by days, right?
seriously, yeah.
The loyalty sometimes, right? It is what
Uh-huh.
it is,
Yeah, it
it's a
is what
free
it is,
market,
exactly. Yep, yep.
But I think what people liked about our team, what people liked about our project was the team. They thought the team was strong. I think they
Mm.
believed in not just me and Pavan, but the rest of the team were all fully doxxed. We had
Yep,
a compelling, ambitious roadmap that we laid out.
yep.
And I think importantly, we also had, we were announcing that we were going to have a game that would be launching really soon, right? It was
Mm.
literally from the time, like if you had minted, it was basically we're essentially from the time of mint, we were going to have a game that launched in a week or week and a half or so.
Mm.
So people were excited about the fact, hey, this is a project that actually has something that's going to be launching really soon versus like waiting, like, versus for a project, a team to wait for the funding to come in. And then, oh, we sold everything. Now we're going to start building. We had already been
Yeah.
building for the past few months.
Mm,
So I think
exactly.
people really like that. And then I
Yeah.
think that's why we do, even now, right, have a lot of, we do have a very strong community of believers and long-term holders. Of
Mm.
course, we do have some people who are, of course, every project has this, but we do have people saying, oh, like why is the floor lower than when I bought, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I want it to go up, right? But we do have a lot of people who have really believe in the project.
That's good.
And for me and the rest of the team, we really want to we really, of course, also believe in our project. We also own
Mm.
NFTs of ourselves. We're aligned with everyone else in our community to deliver on a great, not just on a great game, on great games, but also ideally, because these NFTs have utility in these games, as the games become more popular, then
Yeah.
ideally, the NFTs will rise in value, and we do want to encourage that, right? Yeah.
Yep. What's been the most interesting story to come out of a member of the community so far?
Oh, it's so interesting. I mean, there's just so many interesting people that we've already met just
Mm.
online. I think uh, I guess one that stands out, maybe because it was kind of more recent, is that is one of them is that we reached out to us, and I just didn't even know who he was. I just saw there's like an anonymous address just buying up a lot of our most rare Onis,
Yeah.
like our rare collectibles, and then just reached out. And it was basically just an investor, just really curious about what we were doing, and just I think he runs a NFT, or he's anonymous, so I don't really know who he is, but he reached out and was really curious about what we were doing, and wanted to learn more about our roadmap, and potentially may want to invest in other ways too. So I thought that was interesting. We also had one guy who was also, I guess, relatively a whale in our community, who bought a lot of the rare sets too, and he was like basically like the CEO and founder of another like esports gaming company.
Wow.
And that was interesting too. And I was just like, this is so cool, that just to meet people, like really legitimate, cool people, just because, our mint was trending for our collection was trending for a while, but these guys believe in us. Right. And, I really want to make sure we do right and deliver value back. Right. I really view them as like, they're like investors, right. In some form or fashion. Yeah. Although it is just a collectible and we don't promise future value or anything, but I personally kind of think of it like that. Like, I want to return. I do want to, make it rise over time, but we don't, of course, can't promise that. We don't know if it will or won't, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is not financial advice, past performance does not guarantee future results, sort of disclaimers for everybody.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for sharing, and I think this is one of the more fascinating things that I love, asking people about is, like what is making, your particular community, and like, what are the interesting stories and, what's going to be keeping people for the long term. So I think we've got about like maybe 5 more minutes left. And so I wanted to ask, I usually try to ask people this, but if you were to use any of the 4 elements, right? Air, fire, water, wind. Which of those 4 elements would you apply to your particular community? Which would you assign them to?
Interesting. So I'm describing my community right now.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That's interesting. It's like Avatar. Which nation?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Are you most like? Is it Avatar inspired?
Oh, definitely, man. I'm a fan of Uncle Iroh, so yeah, it definitely was.
Nice, very nice, very nice.
So where would which tribe?
That is so interesting. I have to think about that for a second. I really have to think about that. I'm just like thinking about. I'm just kind of mentally rolling through all the different community members that I'm thinking about, just kind of almost like averaging them out in my head. Let's see.
And there's no wrong answer here, right?
Yeah, I just feel like it's just such a mix. I think I feel like it's so hard to say. I'm just thinking about the analogies here. I think well, I would say, I have to say, I think it kind of reminds me most of like Earth, I would say. Like, I think Fire, I think of it as like, oh yeah, it's like a really, really super, super hyped project with tons of like marketing and influence behind it. And that's not us. I would say that's kind of how I think of like Fire to be.
Yeah.
I think Earth is like more like kind of like a long-term, like we're a lot of a long-term hold, I would say. We're about increasing the value and utility for our project over time. And I think and that's kind of a long-term hold. So I think that's kind of why I think of Earth. Is that's kind of like more of like a steady sort of climber. That's how I view our project. And our community is more patient. So I think that's kind of
nice.
That's how I would describe them. I think for the most part, our community is pretty patient, and I think pretty sophisticated, to be honest. They're pretty smart. But definitely like really, like, we have an Alpha Leaks channel, of course, just like any other project. And there's actually some really good input and thinking and critical analysis there, versus like other ones where just like, oh, buy this, it's super hype, let's go, like
too much fire.
Too much fire. It's very ephemeral, right? I don't think our community is ephemeral. I think they're in it for the long haul with us, and that's who we want at the end of the day too. So I'm loving it, right? I love our community, and definitely they're in it for the long haul, and I'm glad to be on that journey with them. Yeah.
Nice. So the Earth Nation, the Earth Tribe. I like that. Okay, and I guess maybe to close us off, what advice would you give to anybody who's looking to get into this space? Yeah, and maybe a little bit on the community side, because the show is about building meta communities. But yeah, any advice that you'd give to them based on your learning so far?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely, I think it's good to just get involved as soon as possible. Say like you're new to crypto or new to NFTs, or you just want to check out the communities in I guess the metaverse, or as they call it these days.
Yes.
It's just to get involved, right? Maybe just buy some, just save a little bit of money. Don't just buy some stuff that you think is interesting and cool. Definitely just look at the community. I think that's actually a big part of it for like long-term success. Some of my best performers as an NFT holder and investor is just really like, if you believe the founders are really great, you invest in the team, and you invest in the roadmap, and you invest in the community, right? So I think just checking it out, if the community really vibes with you, then that's good. You should just join it and just check it out, see what they do, learn like kind of like what's good. You'll inevitably just don't be afraid to lose money on some things, even if you like it. Like everyone loses something on some projects, right? So just be prepared to have like the learning mentality, like a growth mentality, and recognize that you'll win some, you'll lose some. Not everything's a winner. No one can pick on that 100%, right? So, but just do it for the learning, right? I would say, and of course be responsible about it too, right? Fiscally
100%.
responsible. Don't spend like you're like don't take a mortgage or anything.
Oh my God, yeah, please
on
don't
your house or anything.
Take a mortgage out for this stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's a good way to start. And then if you want to kind of do your own project, I think depending on what your background is, whether you're on the more business or marketing side, artist side, or technical side, I think you'll just get to meet more people. Maybe just try and launch your own projects and get to learn about it. I think it's really important. Like, don't worry if it's small and growing. It's all about just like the early days are always like the most fun in some ways. And those are the community members that you really appreciate and look back long term. Like, oh yeah, these are really great community members. So yeah, just go out there and just build, and just kind of experience it for yourself. There's no other substitute for learning than just building and learning as you go. So that would be my advice. And of course, just take part of the community. I think the overall community, although there is a lot of people, looking to take profit, but even the ones that, were very, profit seeking, of course, some of them they complain our Discord, but we take it all very seriously. We know we can always be doing better. And for the most part, even the ones that were maybe expecting the price to have gone up more, for the most part, I think, they were still pretty mature about it. And I think in general, everyone's just in it to succeed together. And I think right now, and I don't think that's going to last forever, right? But I think right now it just feels like really a community. There's a community across all of crypto and all of the NFT world. There's definitely a huge sense of community. I was at NFT NYC in October or November or so, early November last year. And just the vibes were just so good. People were just so excited just to meet in person the first time. And everyone was just so excited, unified again with this, around this like industry that's so nascent, but fun and intellectually stimulating, right?
Yeah. No, love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure those listening in will get a lot of there's a lot of wisdom right there. And I think for those who want to connect with you, how can they best connect with you?
Yeah, sure. You can they can reach me at my Twitter. It's Jason T. I can send you a link later for the show notes.
Definitely,
but it's Jason. Yeah, Jason TW Lee so for Twitter at Jason TW Lee, and then that's just my fully docs name basically. Or you can send me an email at Jason at yomigames.gg. That's my email, but I can give that to you. At the end of the show.
Love it. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Look forward to seeing the growth of OniSquad and also the gaming company. And yeah, for those of you listening, please connect in with Jason, the OniSquad, Yomi Gaming, and all the best for this year. Much success and prosperity for you and the team.
Yeah, thank you, George, and much success and prosperity for you too.
Thanks a lot, brother.